It's my privilege to introduce the next speaker, Mr. Ankur Jain. He's a senior director at MMJS Consulting, boasting 14 years of experience in leading the indirect tax practice in the UAE. He's recognized as a VAT implementation expert across multiple jurisdictions, showcasing his depth of knowledge in the field. Mr. Ankur Jain has been nominated for various awards, Indirect Tax Leader of the Year in 2023 by International Tax Review. He has even received highly regarded indirect tax in the UAE in the year 2022. He has also been recognized as the Rising Star Indirect Tax in 2021. Mr. Ankur has led VAT projects for number of clients, including government clients. Prior to joining MMGS, Ankur has worked for over 10 years in KPMG, Deloitte, and Deloitte India. He has experience of GST implementation in Malaysia and India for various industries as well. Ankur has also conducted various seminars on VAT. May I please call upon Mr. Ankur for his presentation.
Share my knowledge on the VAT. Something this time it is a bit difficult because I am between dinner and you, so I need to make sure that this session is good. The agenda for the day is we'll talk about there has been a surge in VAT audit, so very important to understand why there is a surge in the VAT audit. Types and types of VAT audit which are there. There is only not one single type of VAT audit which happens. There are various types of audits, so I will deep dive and make you understand that what are the different types of audit which happen. The next is key questions which the FTA asks during audit. I cannot tell you all the questions, but I have tried to find out some 10 basic questions which the FTA asks during audit. The next part is regarding post audit consideration. If audit has been completed, then what happens, what you need to do next, so that we will cover. And the next and the most important question is why and what business needs to do, why there is, if audit happens, what you should do, and also whether a business should consider doing a pre-audit, what is the need of it. So without further ado, I will start today's session. First, I would like to know how many of you have received a VAT audit notice? None. So can you say you are the fortunate one or the unfortunate one?
Honestly, we don't know if it was a tax notice. That's why I asked.
Correct. So I'll deep dive into that. What we understand, and there are figures to support that also, that FT has released in first quarter of 2022, they have done around 10,000 audits, which was 106% more than what they have done in the last quarter. In 2023, they have not released the number, but from our experience, while we are dealing with number of clients, there is a surge in audit. The reason behind that is there in that screen, that the period of limitation has been changed. What is that period of limitation? My fellow speakers, Girish Bhai and Vipin has thrown some light on that. I'll just touch base on that. That period of limitation has been increased from 5 years to 9 years, which means 4 years have been extended. The other change which they did is that after 5 years you cannot file a voluntary disclosure. And the third important change what they did is that in the 6th, if you file a voluntary disclosure in the 5th year, then 1 year it gets extended. What is the reason behind that? Can anybody tell me what is the reason behind that? Why they want to do all those things? The obvious reason is they will audit you. This is specifically done. The FTA didn't have that bench strength to do audit. So they have changed the law where more power has been given to audit, more power has been given to FTA. The years have been extended. We have a lot of questions that FTA has given us a notice, after that nothing has happened. Sir, everything will happen. It was 2 months, 3 months, 6 months. We have seen our clients which have received notice in end of January. After 6 months, they have received a follow-up notice for providing other information. So once you get the notice, definitely the VAT audit started, and then after that, the follow-up question from the authorities can come anytime. Again, there is a myth in the market in terms of Many of the clients says that 5 years have completed, now 2018 FTA can't do anything. But we need to read the law properly, because they always say law, the devil is in the detail, and we need to go into detail to identify what it is. So the law very, very clearly mentions that the 5-year time period is qua the tax period. So if you see on the screen, if and I can point it out, yes. So January 2018 get expired on 31st January 23, only that tax period. So August 2018 still is it is live. The FTA can still give you a notice. And similarly, if you see the quarterly tax period, only till June it is expired. But from July to September, it is still valid. If FTA gives you a notice right now, they can audit you. So the period only above has expired. But having said that, if you read the law, there is one other provision which says that if FTA levies a charge of tax evasion, then that period of limitation is not 5 years or 9 years, it is 15 years. So that is a different thing which is also there. So we cannot just ignore that we are over and FTA cannot come. So you need to see your records properly to identify where you fit. Moving ahead, what are the types of audit which we have seen right now? First is the basic one which all of you have seen, the refund audit. Basically, whenever you are into a refund situation and you make a claim, there is minimum amount of information which FTA asks, that is known as a refund audit. The next type of audit is the field audit. What we have seen is that FTA officials coming to your premises for some time to ask certain information. So that is a sort of a field audit. It again depends upon if you submit the information which is to the best of their knowledge or whatever they wanted. If they are satisfied, they will not come back. If they are not satisfied, they can open a full audit. The next one is a regular audit, which is a comprehensive audit, where a notice will come to you and the follow-on procedure will start. I will go into next slide in terms of what is the complete audit process. And the next is correspondence audit, where FTA will just ask details about your supplier or customer. So that type of audits are also happening. They may give you a notice that for this supplier or this customer, we understand that you have made this much sales, please give us details of those sales, we want to cross verify. So that type of audits are also happening. Now I want to talk about what is the life cycle of an audit. So when an audit happens, what happens? What is the life cycle? So if you see, broadly I have tried to summarize the entire life cycle of audit. It starts with notice, which we all know. Whenever any audit will happen, a notice will come. So they will give you a notice. After the notice, you need to provide the information within the time limit which the notice says. Typically it was 5 days, now they have increased it to 10 working days. So you need to provide the information. Then they ask for further information if they want. If they are not satisfied with the information which you provided, they may ask more information. The next is, this is very, very important, visit of premises. We have seen extensively these days where FTA after this stage, after sharing of information, they give a notice to visit your premises. They come for 2-3 days where they will ask questions not only to the finance team, they can even ask the supply chain people, they can even ask the HR to join this meeting and ask a lot of relevant questions for the VAT affairs what you are doing. And it is a very, very important. The answer which you give to the authorities are very, very important. That will determine your case, where it will go. And the next is the decision. What would be the decision? The decision will be an assessment order which you will get, which will define what are the findings of the audit and what are the penalties and what are the fines which you have received. There would be 2 separate orders which will come, one for the administrative penalties and one for the tax which you have not paid or which they think which you have not paid. Also important to note is this email address. So a lot of people said that we don't know how audit notices comes in. So typically these days audit notices are coming from this ID. So if you have received an email from this ID, most likely your audit have started. So this is a hint which I am giving to you. So you go back and check your email address that whether you have received the audit notices or not. Next, what type of information the authorities will ask? Will it be a very easy audit, or will it would be a very comprehensive audit? If someone, like many of my clients ask me that, what do you feel when audit will start, what will happen, whether we'll get a demand or not? My answer is that when I was giving a CA exams, lot of time, my parents used to ask me whether you will pass or fail. I used to say that I don't know, I can only do my hard work and the result the institute will give. So the same analogy, I think, which every business has to do, audit will happen. The time limits have been increased that extensively, so everybody will get audit notice. It is just a matter of time. But what you need to do is you need to prepare yourself to the best of your abilities. Your data should be in a very correct position. Then even if audit happens, there is no problem. So what are those data which the FT asks for? First is transaction listing. So transaction listing is, they will give you a set of period for which they want data, and transaction listing is they want invoice wise data. So invoice data of your, say for example, January 2018 is the month where they want the data. So all invoices, standard rated supplies, zero rated supplies, whatever reverse charge which you have done, export of goods what you have done, whatever input, standard rated input which you have taken, everything, all invoice wise details have to be provided to the FTA. Typically what they ask, the type of notices which are currently flowing is, FTA asks for details of year 18, FTA asks details for year 18, 19 and 20. FTA may ask certain tax period from these 3 years, say 3 period of 18, 2 period of 19 and 2 period of 2020. This is the type of notices which are coming, and you need to provide transaction listing. The next is audit questionnaire. 35 questions FT asks you. What are those? It's a complete biodata of your business. They'll try to ask each and every, I will go into detail what typically they ask, but complete information about your business, starting from your ownership, starting from the number of branches you have, starting from the type of supplies you are making, and they even ask you the details of your implementation, whether you have done implementation report with which consultant, and they review the implementation report also when they audit you. Brief note on your business activities, categories of income, whatever your revenue stream which is there, what is the VAT liability on there, they will ask you. Documents, which is simple, like audit happens, they will definitely ask you document. The key part is the reconciliation. If you see on the screen, and I will show you a format of also. Reconciliation of VAT return with the trial balance. This is the key. And we have seen lot of businesses not maintaining that properly or even not aware of it. They just file the VAT return from the GL ledger, whatever it comes, and they don't know that they have to prepare the reconciliation. This is the key. They will ask you question, if there is a difference between your financial books and the VAT return, what is the reason of the difference? And if you don't know the reason of the difference, ideally they will charge VAT on all those differences which are there. Then the corporate group structure, input tax apportionment, all those businesses which are actually doing mixed supplies and doing the input tax apportionment, you have to provide the details of the working, what method you have followed and why you have followed that method. You need to provide those details. In relation to the refund audit, as I said, it is a more simpler one. The details which is asked in refund audit is transaction listing, top 5 invoices for each category, and trial balance, VAT ledger in limited cases. But again, these details are not a full details. In case to case basis, FTA may ask certain more details if they deem it fit for that case. Moving ahead, I would like to talk about 10 key things, or during our experience from audit, what FTA will ask you question, and probably try to understand and take your brain also in terms of what currently you are doing and what FTA thinks what is the correct position. The first thing, as I said, I will be talking about the information which they asked during the audit, which is the audit questionnaire. As I said that they'll ask the ownership details. They ask about if you are making an exempt supply, what are the details of exempt supply. If you are an agent or working as an agent for another entity, then what you are doing. If you are dealing in vouchers, then the details about your voucher and loyalty scheme. As I said, overview of how you have prepared yourself during implementation, whether there was an in-house tax team or you did take in help from a a consultant. So they will ask you for the implementation report also. Input tax recovery in relation to ineligible VAT claims. There are certain expenses we all know where input credit is not allowed. What is your policy around that? What is the policy relating to mobile phones and input credit in relation to that? Details and explanation on zero rating of supplies which you are doing. Currently most of you must be knowing it that in case you are doing export of goods, FTA is keep on asking and harping that you should have an exit certificate in addition to all your official and commercial evidence. So from where it is coming? During audit they will definitely ask you whether for your export claims do you have exit certificate or not, and in case the exit certificate are not there, definitely there may be an unnecessary demand which FTA can create. Import of goods and services, again the reconciliation we have seen, they are asking during what is your reconciliation of import of goods, whether you are directly claiming whatever is coming into box number 6 or you are making a reconciliation to that. So these are probably again as I said it is an exhaustive list, 35 questions they ask. I have summarized it in the interest of the time, but these are the questions which they will ask you during the audit questionnaire. Next is the general question which the FTA keeps on asking during audit. So I'll like to ask you in relation to Emirati employees, if you have, whether a business is allowed to take medical insurance credit or not. This is the question. Medical insurance for UAE nationals. You have UAE national as your employees and you provide medical insurance to them. The VAT which is charged on the medical insurance, can you claim or not? Or you are hearing this for the first time? So should we claim? My question is whether VAT input should be claimed or not. Correct. The right answer is you cannot claim because they would be covered under the national insurance policy which is provided by the government. So it's not essential for you to provide insurance to them, and if you have provided and you have claimed the credit, FTA will disallow. The second part is on dependents. Basically, I will take the question later on, sir. I am running very short on time and I need to finish on time. Yeah. So, sorry, I'll just see. On dependents also, in Abu Dhabi they allow for dependents because it is the labor policy here, but in Dubai dependents, insurance claim is also not allowed. So therefore, that is also a very valid point to check, and they will check during audit also. Next is motor vehicles. The law is very clear. In case you have cars or any motor vehicle, which is typically the passenger cars, where if even they are available for personal use. So this is the wording which has been used in the law, available for personal use. So which means that even out of 1 year, even 1 day, the car has been used for personal use, then input credit should not be claimed, and that's the intention of the law. So this is also very important. And again, during audit, FT has made it very clear, the motor vehicle and related expenses like fuel, insurance, repairs, all would be disallowed. The next is, entertainment expenses. Ideally, any entertainment expenses where food is there, we do offsite for the employees. People keep on asking whether it is more for an employee, welfare. But again, VAT law has a strict provision to that. If you have a food associated with that and you are, there, then those claim may be disallowed and should not be claimed. Go ahead. Input tax credit claims are something where FTA is, FTA has a hawk eye on that. And typically what they say, input credit, whenever you receive a VAT input invoice, it is just like a cash or a check to you. So you need to ensure that conditions related with input credit are fully claimed. So we have a public clarification number 17 which has been issued here, and there are two paramount conditions which are there. One is that you should receive an input invoice, and second is there is intention to make payment. If these two conditions are not fulfilled, then input claim can be rejected by the FTA. And all of you must also be knowing is that there is 2 tax period rule, correct? So you can take If these two conditions are satisfied, you can claim the credit in one tax period or the subsequent one. If you have failed to do that, then only way to claim input credit is to file a voluntary disclosure. So that's a very important point. Secondly, I will also throw from 1st of March 2023, there has been change in import of services and import of goods, provisions as well. So now the new rules is that in case you are importing any services, typically what we used to do RCM, correct? Everybody used to do RCM, but from 1st of March 23, if you don't have a corresponding invoice from the foreign supplier, then you have to report the output, but input you cannot claim. Your input is restricted. So input would only be available when you have and foreign suppliers invoice also. And similarly for import of goods, you should have all the import documents with you to take your input claim. So this is a change which is effective from 1st of March 23. Another question, and I think this was also very important, whether input tax credit needs to be reversed if payment to the supplier is not made within the specified timelines. Are you aware of this? Are we required to reverse the input tax credit if we have not made payment to the suppliers? Majority of you agree, correct? What is the time limit? 6 months or 180 days, correct? So this is also which FTA checks during the audit. Say they will go through the list of input which you have claimed, and they will check in what is the due date of payment and whether the payment has been made. If the payment is not made within 6 months from the agreed date of payment, then you have to reverse the input, and once you make the payment, you can definitely claim. One thing which is again is, it is 6 months from the agreed date of payment, which means say if you have a 2 months of a period where you make the normal payment, then 2 months plus 6 months. So 8 months is the time limit. After that, the input credit may be reversed. So I've quickly gone through the example. If you see here, 1st of January was the invoice, due date was 10 January, tax 6 months getting expired on 10th of July. So after 10th of July, if you have not made the payment, you have to reverse it. Going further, free of cost supplies. We all know if under VAT law, and they also say that nothing is free in this world, correct? And similarly, the same analogy works for VAT as well. So if you are making supply to any another party and where you are not charging a consideration to it, it is known as a deemed supply, and you need to pay VAT on it. And this is the same thing which they will ask. And also one of the things which FTA asks is that if these transactions are happening between the related party, and in case it is happening with the related party also, there has been change in the law. So in that scenario, the deemed supply valuation would be done at the market value, not at the cost price. So this is also something which is important to know, and FTA checks that. The next is export of goods and services. The key issue here is the exit certificate, which I told you. FTA will definitely harp on any export claim, export of goods which you are doing. You have all the official and commercial evidence with you, and if you don't have an exit certificate, then it's an issue. So you need to ensure that going forward, you should have an exit certificate for all your export claim, and for the prior period also, you should make sure that you are trying to arrange the exit certificate, because this is something which is very important. Export of services, again a very broad concept, but broadly I just wanted to tell you is that when you are exporting services, just only don't see that the other party is a non-resident. There are a lot of conditions associated with that, and you need to ensure that all those conditions and declarations are also taken care of when you are claiming any benefit under export of services. One of the thing from an audit perspective, FTA and any authority around the world, whenever you are claiming any exemption or where you are taking benefit of the rate, like zero rating is a benefit where you are not paying 5%, you are paying 0%, and say for example certain transactions which are exempt, in those scenario FTA will definitely like to check those transactions in detail, and documentation play a very key role there. And in case you don't have a proper documentation, then those claims can be rejected. So it's very, very important. Say you are doing a sale of a bare land and you say exempt, but you don't have document to prove that it is a bare land, then FTA will start questioning you. So this is very, very important that you maintain documentation, and it is the key. Under VAT audit, if documents are not proper, then definitely the things become very difficult. The next is transitional provisions, very important, still valid. So in case, during the end of 2017, in your, this is my alarm to vote for the cricket match. So transitional provisions is something where which talks about, like, during the end of 2017 in your books, you recorded something as an advance, and for that period, if you have not paid VAT, because the law clearly specified on January 1, whatever services or whatever goods where the supply will be happening after January 1, 2018, VAT needs to be paid on that. So this is something which is very, very important. We have seen lot of cases where businesses has not done this correctly, and transitional provisions are very, very important and still active, and FTA may go into deep into these transactions. Record keeping, very simple thing, but very big fine on that. So if you see, even on Imara portal and under VAT law, you need to keep all the documents, all the details up to date. So, some of the things like, your name and address, your trade license, legal entity, there is a change in, status, you need to update, nature of the business of the registrants, mobile number, addresses, all those details have to be updated. In case you don't fail to update it, then there is a fine. For first time default, it is 5,000, and for multiple default on this, 10,000 fines can be levied. So this is very basic thing. I will urge all of you, please go and check whether all those details in your Imara portal is correct or not. We have seen very few cases, not many, where FT has levied fines because of this also. So your portal details should be all proper. If it is not proper, there can be fine on this as well. As I said, reconciliation, very, very important. A format or a replica of details which FTA gives you. This is the format which FTA only gives. So how you prepare a reconciliation, if you see on the screen here, so your details about, VAT return, standard rated supply, all Emirates, zero rated supply, exam, gross total, then as per the trial balance, operational income, finance income, other income, gross total and difference, and reasons. This is the key. Ideally it should match, and most of the time it will not match, but you should know the reasons. If you don't know the reasons, then obviously they will ask you more questions, they will go into deep, and even if after that also you are not able to explain it to them, then it would be subject to VAT. Last slide on this topic. I have 2 more slides, and I think I am on time. 2 things. Very, very important is that you need to prepare. As I said, it's very, very important to prepare. Don't take it lightly. We have seen lots of, huge demands which have come where people have taken this lightly. So you need to ensure, I have taken through the whole life cycle, what are the details which they are asking. So you need to prepare. There should be team. Don't keep this thing only assigned to few individuals. There should be a team which should be responsible for this, because when those information they will ask, one person would not be sufficient enough. So you need to ensure that there is a proper team. Reconciliation, you need to prepare the reconciliation, it should be ready. Your documentations play a key role, so you need to ensure that documentations are archived properly, and whenever you want, they are available. Because if the documents are there but you cannot present it to them, then FTA will think that you don't have a proper documentation. So these are the don't is something which I don't want to tell, because this is not required to be done. Anyways, I'll share the presentation to you and you can go into detail. Post audit, what happens after the audit? So audit has finished. What will happen after audit? So ideally, once the audit process, so typically an audit, I have been part of now almost 10 audits which many of my clients have got. It takes almost 6 to 9 months to complete an audit from the entire process. And once the audit finishes, you will receive an order. One is an order will come with this finding of the audit. Then there would be an order for the penalties, administrative penalties which the FTA will levy, and one is the order where the total tax which you have not paid, which will come. So you have multiple options. One is, if you agree with the fine, then you pay the fine and the matter closes there. Second is, if you don't agree, then there are 6 stages of litigation which the Federal Tax Authority is allowing. First is you can review the assessment order. After that, you can go for the reconsideration. After that, you can go to the Tax Dispute Resolution Committee, which is a quasi-judicial body. And after that, there are 3 stages of the courts, which is Court of First Instance, Court of Appeals and Supreme Court. And we have seen not many, but almost 50 to 60 cases reached for VAT dispute, reaching it to the Supreme Court level as well. So, there are cases, there would definitely be, an interpretation issues, and it is not there that if you, whatever FT auditor is saying is right. One thing which I am making very clear is that auditor per se would be, favoring the revenue, correct? This is their job. So, sometime it may happen that even your case is genuine, they would like to penalize you, or they will say, no, I understand that on this VAT needs to be paid. So, it is not end of the story. Definitely you can, go ahead. If he issues a demand also, you can fight for that. There are stages of litigation, and we have seen people getting, lot of favorable outcome during the, during these as well. Yes. The last slide from me before I, open the floor for the question and answer session is why, why there is a need of a pre-audit and why we should be afraid of an audit. What happens? Say for example, a business is there and he asks a question that if audit will come, I know I have issues, I don't want to file a voluntary disclosure. If audit will come, I will tell them this is the issue, or whatever they find out, we will pay the VAT on it. Why should I do a voluntary disclosure? Can anybody tell me why we should be afraid of an audit? Is there, something which we should be afraid of? Somebody, you said penalty. So, penalty, even in voluntary disclosure, they levy penalty. Yes, definitely reputational risk. That's number one. Yes. So, the severity of the penalty in audit vis-a-vis voluntary disclosure. So, we have two very valid reasons. Anything more? Future audit. Yes, sir. Perfect. That is also. So, in case it is if they see that it is a tax evasion case, then criminal liabilities also can be levied. So, these are all valid reasons. Because of that, we need to ensure that the audit is very, very important. We need to give that importance to that. And as sir said that one of the reason for the difference is the severity of the difference in the penalty. If you see on the screen, in case you have discovered an error and the VAT output tax was 100,000, okay, and you filed a voluntary disclosure in the 4th year. So, the amount of penalty which you will pay by filing a voluntary disclosure is 41,000. I will not go into detail because we all know, Vipin just take a whole section on voluntary disclosure. There are various penalties which are levied. So, if you file a voluntary disclosure, the penalty is 41,000. If FT identifies the same during FT audit, the penalty jumps up to 200,000. So, there is a 5 times difference, and that's it was earlier 300,000, they have reduced from 300% to 200%. So, this has been reduced. So, this is the difference, and that is why it is very, very important that we ensure we take this very seriously, because this is one issue which I am telling you. Just identify if it is 1 million, how much amount this can become. So, this is the reason why VAT audits are important. Many of you have not got the notices, but I think it's very good time for you to understand, because I practically be part of many audits and I've tried to make it or decode it in a very simple language for you, and now I would be happy for you to take any questions or whatever John sir says.
See the 5-year period for
yeah,
limitation.
period of limitation.
Suppose you close that period, there is an error in that period. So you ignore it, or what you do?
Very, very, very valid question. I'll just repeat this question for everybody's understanding. So, the screen which I was showing you, say, I'll just quickly go just so everybody understand that question also. Yes, here. So, it happened in January 2018, and I said that you have not received any notices, correct? So, you have not received any notice for audit. So, ideally, if you have not received the notice, the period of limitation is over, okay? So in that period, January 23 is over, and in this period now you have identified any error. So what we should do? Okay. So ideally what will happen is the FTA portal will not allow you to do anything, because 5 years are expired, you cannot do voluntary disclosure.